This video is about autonomous stage fluency. If you like these videos, please buy my book, Making Stuttering Therapy Work, which is available on Amazon. Okay, physical therapists, occupational therapists, and sports coaches use motor learning theory to maximize the effectiveness of their therapies and coaching. What if we apply motor learning theory to stuttering therapy? So this is the third stage of motor learning, where you move from closed loop motor control to open loop motor control. So the autonomous stage is where you make the target motor skills automatic and effortless. Autonomous stage motor learning results from practicing target motor movements faster and harder while making no errors in stressful, changing situations with multiple attention demands, with an ideal practice schedule for about 3 million repetitions. For example, you take tennis lessons. Your coach shows you how to grip the racket properly and swing at the ball. At first, you execute this movement slowly with little force. As your skill improves, you swing harder and hit the ball harder. When you make a mistake, your coach stops you and makes you begin again slowly. At first, your coach hits you easy balls, then he hits harder balls to you, making the game stressful. Then you play tennis regularly against better and better opponents, and over months and years, your game improves. Now I'm going to talk about why stuttering therapy fails. Most stuttering therapy programs do little to train autonomous motor learning. Your speech-language pathologist tells you to make a conscious effort to speak fluently. You are told that if your fluency fails, it's your fault for not concentrating on your speech. Automatic, effortless, fluent speech is not a goal. Practice is done with relaxed speech production muscles. You never increase muscle force. Single tasks are executed slowly. Timing is essential, especially initiation of phonation, but speed is not increased to increase timing accuracy. And lastly, practice is done in the speech clinic or at home alone. You don't use therapy skills in high stress situations. Now I'm going to talk about increasing force and speed. Stuttering therapy programs fail to train the autonomous stage of speech motor learning because of a counterintuitive aspect of stuttering. Stuttering is characterized by abnormally high activity in the brain's speech motor control area. This results in excessive speech muscle activity. The obvious but wrong treatment for stuttering is to reduce speech production muscle activity, and in other words, to speak with relaxed breathing, vocal folds, and articulation muscles. As noted earlier, speech-language pathologists see that slowing down and using closed-loop speech motor control eliminates stuttering. They reach the obvious but wrong conclusion that stuttering therapy should be done at slow speaking rates with relaxed muscles, and that for the rest of our lives, persons who stutter should use relaxed, slow speech. Fluency shaping therapy begins by training slow, relaxed, fluent speech motor skills. Similarly, golf and tennis instruction begin with slow, relaxed, correct movements. Golf and tennis instructors then have you increase your force and speed. In contrast, speech-language pathologists tell you not to increase your force and speed. It may seem counterintuitive, but after you master slow, relaxed fluency skills, you must increase both the speed and force without making errors to train automatic, effortless fluency. That doesn't mean you should speak loudly, fast, and forcefully. You should do fluency skills such as gentle onsets with increasing volume, speed, and force. Fluency shaping therapy breaks down speech into simple components. You then practice these components louder and faster. The speed-accuracy trade-off posits that increasing speed negatively affects accuracy and vice versa, but this isn't entirely true. Spatial accuracy is governed by the speed-accuracy trade-off, e.g., a pitcher throwing a baseball faster will be less likely to get the ball over the plate. But temporal accuracy is not governed by the speed accuracy trade-off. For example, a batter deciding when to swing will reduce timing errors by swinging fast. Quote, the speed accuracy trade-off has several implications for motor skill performance. First, if spatial accuracy is the goal, such as when a patient reaches for an object or when a computer user moves the mouse to click on an icon, accuracy will suffer if the task is attempted with too much velocity. If, on the other hand, the goal is temporal accuracy or the production of a forceful movement, such as a smash in table tennis, speed should be emphasized, unquote. Does fluent speech demand spatial or temporal accuracy? Well, there's no spatial movement in speech production. You're not going anywhere or throwing anything. It's all temporal execution. The fundamental manifestation of stuttering is the inability to start and stop phonation multiple times per second, as streams of voiced and voiceless phonemes demand. Being able to initiate phonation at the right time, which means when transitioning from a voiceless phoneme to a vowel or voiced consonant, is the goal of stuttering therapy. If this line of reasoning is correct, then slow speech will reduce the temporal accuracy of phonation onset and negate learning fluent speech motor skills. You'll have to slow down to closed loop speech motor control. In other words, very slow speech to be able to initiate phonation at the right times. Conversely, increasing speed of the initiation of phonation, we should be able to initiate phonation with greater temporal accuracy. Quote, studies examining the influence of the speed accuracy trade-off on the development of complex motor skills found an emphasis on accuracy during the initial stages of skill acquisition may impede the development of efficient motor patterns, especially those of ballistic skills. When learners sacrifice velocity to increase accuracy, a constrained movement pattern emerges. Conversely, an emphasis on speed appears to facilitate skill development, unquote. The intent here isn't to speak fast in therapy, but to break down speech into component parts and practice each component fast. For example, initiation of phonation is practiced with the gentle onset or easy onset target. In the cognitive and associative stages of learning, should be motor learning, this target is done in 2 seconds, or 10 times slower than normal speech. The above research suggests that in the autonomous stage, this target should be done in the normal 2/10 of a second. In my practice, I alternate saying one syllable with a slow, gentle onset, and then doing the same syllable with a fast, gentle onset. Now I'm going to talk about increasing force. Increased speech force results in louder volume. work on getting loud, but don't shout or yell. Instead, project your voice. Vocal volume is a factor of both exhalation volume and vocal fold tension. Increase your exhalation volume while keeping your vocal folds relatively relaxed. This result is high, should be the result. The result is high volume with the intonations of normal conversational speech. Stage actors do this. I once dined. I'll skip the next part. Increase your onset speed while maintaining long syllable duration. Pretend that your forearm is a sports car's accelerator. When your fist is up, your vocal volume is quiet. As you push your fist down, your volume increases. When your fist is all the way down, you're going at maximum volume. Listeners 100 feet away should hear you. Slowly lower your fist to produce a gentle onset. Then slam your fist down fast to go from silenced to maximum volume. Then hold that volume while stretching the vowel. Pull your fist up fast to end the word with speed. This is slow speech with maximum force. And be careful not to damage your vocal folds. Stop if you feel hoarse or start losing your voice. Now I'm going to talk about increasing speed. Shorten syllable duration from 2 seconds to 2/10 of a second. Practice this both with relaxed, quiet speech and loud, projected speech. Using the practice word list at the back of my book, say each word 4 times. First, slow and relaxed, quietly. Second, slow and projecting your voice loudly. Third, relax quietly with a quick onset. And fourth, loudly projecting your voice with a fast onset. This is not an abrupt onset, but rather is a gentle onset done faster. The practice word list is important for variable practice. A coach who has players repeat the same throws over and over will produce players who can't generalize the skill to a variety of performance situations. In speech, variable practice means practicing every combination of vowel and consonant in the English language, which is what you'll find in the word list when you buy my book. It has words that have every combination of vowel and consonant in the English language. Now I'm going to demonstrate increasing speed and force with gentle onsets. I'm going to use the word list in the back of my book, which has every combination of consonant and vowel in the English language. And we're going to begin with able. 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 Baby. 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 Chainsaw. 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 chainsaw, dateline, 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 famous, 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 famous. Okay, so that's 5 words: able, baby, chainsaw, dateline, famous. There are 352 more words in this word list. Now I'm going to talk about where to practice force and speed. It's hard to practice loud speech in a small room. The ideal place to practice is an empty auditorium. Have your speech language pathologist sit in the back row, stand on stage, and project your voice to her. She yells, "Can't hear you," until you reach ideal volume. Demosthenes, a person who stuttered, who became the greatest orator of ancient Greece, projected his voice over breaking waves at the seashore. You can practice on a freeway overpass. Work on projecting your voice over the waves of traffic. Increasing speed and force myelinates or reinforces neural pathways in your brain. A mistake reinforces the wrong neural pathways. Learning to talk fluently requires talking fluently 100% of the time. This sounds like circular advice, and it is. Reinforcing motor skills is a virtuous cycle. Using target skills reinforces the skills, making the skills easier to use. Conversely, stuttering reinforces undesirable speech motor skills, the core stuttering behaviors, and bad communication habits, the secondary behaviors. Stuttering sets up a vicious cycle instead of a virtuous cycle. So picture novices learning to play basketball. They practice their dribbling, their shooting, etc. Each skill is practiced in isolation. Then they play a game against another team. Lots of stuff is happening at the same team. The opposing team is trying to take the ball away from them, block their throws, etc. And the clock is running. Every second counts. That's stress. Autonomous motor learning requires practicing a new motor skill in stressful situations. So design a hierarchy of stressful situations. The first might be leaving a message on your speech language pathologist answering machine. When you can do that comfortably and fluently, you might talk to telemarketers using closed loop speech motor controls. Slow, fluent speech. Then you could join Toastmasters and make a series of speeches to your club. And now I'm going to talk about practice scheduling. The United States Postal Service studied workers learning to operate mail sorting machines, which were similar to typewriters. All subjects received 60 hours of training. The scheduling varied among 4 groups. One group had 2 2-hour sessions per day for 15 days. Second group had 1 2-hour session per day for 30 days. Third group had 2 1-hour sessions per day for 30 days. And the fourth group had 1 1-hour session per day for 60 days. The first group, the 2 2-hour sessions per day, learned fastest, but in the long run had the worst performance. The fourth group, 1 1-hour session per day, took the longest to get up to speed, but eventually had the best performance. Surprisingly, the postal workers preferred the 2-hour, 2 sessions schedule, even though they had the worst performance. People are impatient. They don't want to spend 60 days learning something if they think there's a 15-day shortcut. A similar study was done with 38 junior surgical residents. The mass practice group received 4 training sessions in one day. The distributed practice group did 1 training session per week for 4 weeks. 1 month later, the distributed practice group significantly outperformed the mass practice group. Now I'm going to talk about extinguishing old motor skills. We could simplistically conclude that you should practice stuttering therapy no more than 1 hour per day. But there's a difference between speech therapy and mail sorting or surgery. The postal workers and surgical residents were learning new motor skills. Persons who stutter must learn new motor skills and extinguish old motor skills. As noted earlier, coaches often prefer to work with individuals who have never played a sport and haven't learned bad habits, rather than work with experienced athletes and have to break their bad habits. Stuttering therapy is like a coach working with a player who's been playing the sport for decades with poor motor skills that have become hardwired in his brain. It gets worse. After the training sessions, the postal workers and surgeons didn't go home and sort mail or do surgery on their friends. But persons who stutter leave the speech clinic and revert to their old stuttering speech motor skills. To extinguish an old motor skill, you must stop doing it. Perhaps the ideal stuttering therapy is done 1 hour per day, and then you take a vow of silence the rest of the day. But that's unrealistic. To burn new fluent neural pathways and extinguish old stuttering neural pathways, you must use fluent speech every time you talk. You must never stutter. Each disfluency weakens your new fluent neural pathways and strengthens your old stuttering neural pathways. So now we're going to talk about how long does autonomous learning take. Gymnasts practice daily for about 8 years to become proficient. Motor learning researchers studied the manual or hand skills of cigar makers. Beginner cigar makers work 3 times slower than experienced cigar makers. Becoming fully skilled required making 3 million cigars. 3 million repetitions were also needed for Japanese pearl handlers to become proficient. The Suzuki method of teaching violin to children requires the production of about 2.5 million notes. Basketball, football, and baseball throws require about 1 million practice throws. This suggests that making fluent speech automatic and effortless requires saying about 3 million syllables. At 5 seconds per syllable, talking 4 hours a day, just your time talking, not counting listening, you could produce 3 million syllables in 6 weeks. If you got a job answering telephone calls and you did your stuttering therapy skills on every call, and you spent your free time at Toastmasters clubs making speeches or volunteering at a hospital's information desk, fluent speech might become automatic for you in 6 weeks. But most persons who stutter practice between 10 minutes and 1 hour per day. If they were silent the rest of the day, they'd say 3 million syllables somewhere between 6 months and 3 years. No one has studied whether undesirable motor skills cancel out on-target practice. In other words, does a half hour of on-target practice get canceled out by not using fluency skills the rest of the day? Such a practice schedule might take years to produce automatic fluent speech or might never work. That's the end of this video about autonomous stage learning. Look on my channel for my other videos about stuttering therapy. Look below the video for a link to buy my book, Making Stuttering Therapy Work, which is available on Amazon. If you're watching this on YouTube, please click the like and subscribe buttons below the video so that I get a share of the revenue from the ads you've seen. And my website is casafuturatech.com.